When I first heard this story, I actually cried. Like real tears. And I'm not someone who cries easily, you know? But Marcus Chen's story, man, it got to me. Because it's not just about him. It's about every single one of us. It's about trust. About betrayal. About discovering who you really are when everything falls apart. So if you appreciate real stories, the kind that actually matter, hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't. Because these are the stories we all need to hear. Imagine this for a second. You wake up on a Tuesday morning, a billionaire, sitting in your corner office, 47th floor. Manhattan skyline glittering outside your window. You've got everything figured out. Success. Respect. A beautiful life. Now imagine. 24 hours later, you're packing 2 suitcases into a borrowed apartment in Queens. Your bank accounts are frozen. Your reputation is destroyed. Every news outlet in America is calling you a fraud. And the person who did this to you? Your best friend. Yeah. This is what happened to Marcus Chen on September 15, 2008. And I'm going to tell you exactly how it went down. But this story is going to mess with your head. In the best way possible. Let's go back to that Tuesday morning. 47 years old Marcus, sitting in his corner office at Hudson Tower. The sunrise is painting the city gold. You know that gorgeous early morning light that makes Manhattan look like it's made of honey? That's what he's looking at. He's managing $4 billion. 4 billion. His investment firm, Chen Capital, has a spotless reputation. Everyone on Wall Street knows his name. His future? Limitless. Or so he thinks. Marcus, we need to talk. That's David Park. His CFO. But more importantly, his college roommate. 20 years of friendship. This guy was best man at Marcus's wedding, they go way back. But right now, something in David's voice is off. There's this tremor. This shake Marcus has never heard before. Marcus sets down his coffee. What's wrong? David's hands are literally shaking as he pulls out a folder. The SEC is launching an investigation. Someone tipped them off about insider trading. Marcus actually laughs. Can you believe that? He laughs. Because it's absurd, right? He runs the cleanest shop on Wall Street. He's never broken a rule. Never cut a single corner. His father, who immigrated from Taiwan with nothing, taught him one thing his whole life. Your name is worth more than money. Protect it always. But David's not laughing. They have evidence, Marcus. Documents. Email trails. It looks really bad. The next 12 hours are a complete blur. Emergency meetings. Lawyers with these grave, serious faces. Phone calls going nowhere. Frantic explanations. And then, 6 p.m., the news leaks. CNBC runs the headline. Chen Capital under investigation for massive fraud. His phone starts exploding. Investors calling, panicking. Emails flooding in, redemption requests, one after another. Partners who smiled at him that morning won't even return his calls now. And here's what's killing him. He's innocent. He didn't do this. He's staring at these documents they're showing him, emails that supposedly prove he coordinated illegal trades, manipulated stock prices, deceived investors, and he's never seen them before in his life. Never. But then, he notices something. A tiny detail in the email headers. The IP address. The timestamp. He pulls up his own records and his stomach just drops. These emails were sent from David's computer. Modified. Fabricated. David. His college roommate. The guy who helped him move into his first apartment. The guy he trusted with everything. The guy he made wealthy beyond imagination. David destroyed him. By midnight, the SEC has frozen Chen Capital's assets. Everything locked. By 3 a.m., the board votes to remove Marcus as CEO. By sunrise on Wednesday morning, investors have pulled $3 billion. $3 billion. Gone. The firm is hemorrhaging money. His personal accounts, intertwined with company guarantees, frozen solid. His credit cards? Declined at the gas station. His reputation? Shredded across every financial news outlet in the world. Marcus drives home in silence, both hands gripping the steering wheel so tight his knuckles are white. He lives in a penthouse in Tribeca. Or he did. Until the bank calls to tell him the mortgage is in default because of the asset freeze. He has 72 hours to vacate. 72 hours. When he walks through the door at 7 a.m. Wednesday morning, Elena's waiting. His wife. Elena's a pediatric surgeon. Brilliant. Practical. She's got these dark eyes that miss nothing. They met 12 years ago at a charity gala, and she never cared about his money. Not once. She grew up in the Bronx, daughter of a subway conductor. She understands struggle in ways Marcus never had to. I saw the news, she says softly. And Marcus, he just collapses. This grown man, this powerful executive who was literally managing billions of dollars yesterday, he collapses onto the couch and he cries. For the first time in his adult life, he breaks. I didn't do it, Elena. I swear to you, I didn't. I know you didn't. She sits beside him. Takes his hand. I've known you for 12 years, Marcus. You're many things, but you're not a liar and you're not a cheat. It was David. He fabricated everything. And I can't prove it. The evidence looks real. My lawyers say fighting this could take years and cost millions I don't have anymore. Elena's quiet for a long moment. Just sitting there, holding his hand. Then she says something that changes everything. My father used to tell me, Mija, when the train breaks down, you don't panic. You remember where you're going and you find another way to get there. Marcus looks at her. We're going to lose everything. The apartment, the cars, probably even what? Me? Elena smiles sadly. Marcus, I didn't marry your money. I married you. The guy who volunteers at the Boys and Girls Club every Saturday. The guy who remembers every nurse's name at my hospital. The guy who cried at our wedding because he was so happy. She squeezes his hand. That guy is still here. That's all I need. Something shifts in Marcus's chest. You know that feeling when someone sees you, really sees you, not what you have or what you've accomplished, but who you actually are? That's what's happening right now. He'd spent 15 years building an empire, and it vanished in 24 hours. But sitting there with Elena, he realizes he still has something David could never take. He has someone who truly knows him, who believes in him. What do we do? He asks. Elena stands up. First, we call my brother. He has that 2-bedroom in Queens we can stay in while he's deployed overseas. Second, you stop thinking about what you lost and start thinking about what you learned. What I learned? You built a $4 billion firm from nothing once, Marcus. You know things most people don't. You understand markets, people, timing. David took your money and your reputation. He didn't take what's in your head. She taps his temple gently. That's the real fortune. And nobody can freeze that. Marcus looks at his wife. This woman who just lost a penthouse lifestyle without a single complaint. Who's already solving problems while he's drowning in self-pity. And he feels something kindle inside him. Not revenge. Not yet. But something deeper. Determination. Wednesday afternoon. Marcus and Elena pack 2 suitcases. That's it. 2 suitcases. Everything else stays behind. They move into a cramped apartment in Astoria, Queens. The subway rumbles overhead every 15 minutes. The neighbors argue through thin walls. There's water stains on the ceiling. It's September 2008, and the entire financial world is collapsing around them. Lehman Brothers just filed for bankruptcy. The markets are in free fall. Marcus Chin, former billionaire, sits in a borrowed apartment with nothing but his knowledge, his wife, and a question burning in his mind. What if losing everything was actually the beginning? The first month in Queens is brutal. Every morning, Marcus wakes up to the sound of the 7 trains screeching past their window. It's this horrible metal-on-metal sound that literally makes the walls shake. Elena leaves for the hospital at 5 a.m., still going to work, still saving lives, and Marcus just lies there, staring at water stains on the ceiling, feeling the weight of his failure pressing down on his chest like something physical. His phone stopped ringing. Colleagues who used to compete for his attention? They ghost him completely. The Wall Street Journal runs a follow-up piece. Chin Capital collapse. Investors lost $800 million. They quote anonymous sources calling him a con artist, a fraud, a liar. And David Park? David somehow emerges as the hero. The whistleblower who tried to stop Marcus's crimes. The irony is so bitter Marcus can taste it. One evening, Elena sets down a plate of rice and eggs. It's a far cry from the restaurants they used to go to, but she prepares it with the same care she applies to everything. You need to eat something, she says. I'm not hungry. Marcus. Her voice cuts through everything. You can feel sorry for yourself, or you can do something useful. But you can't do both. He looks up at her. What am I supposed to do, Elena? I can't work in finance. My name is poison. I have $3,000 in a checking account that isn't frozen, and that has to last us until I figure something out. She sits down across from him. Tell me something. When you started Chin Capital, what did you have? I had $200,000 from my father's life insurance, a Series 7 license, and what? And I understood something other people didn't. I'd spent 3 years analyzing emerging markets while everyone else was chasing tech stocks. I saw opportunities they missed. Elena nods. So you had knowledge. You had insight. Do you still have those things? Yes. Then you're not broke. You just think you are. That conversation? It changes everything. The next morning, Marcus doesn't lie in bed. He gets up, makes coffee in that tiny kitchen, and does something he hasn't done since college. He goes to the public library. Yeah. The Queen's Public Library. The main branch has free internet, newspapers, financial databases. He can't afford Bloomberg terminals anymore. But he can read. He can think. He can learn. And what he sees, it terrifies him and exhilarates him in equal measure. October 2008. The financial crisis is accelerating. Bear Stearns gone. Lehman Brothers gone. AIG needs a government bailout. The entire banking system is on the verge of total implosion. Stock markets worldwide are cratering. People are losing their homes, their jobs, their retirement savings. Everything's falling apart. But Marcus starts filling notebooks. He's tracking which companies are overleveraged, which ones have strong fundamentals but are being punished by panic selling, which assets are being liquidated at fire sale prices. He's studying patterns. He remembers his history. Every crisis creates opportunities. Every single one. The question is, who's going to have the courage and the resources to seize them when everyone else is running scared? One afternoon in late October, Marcus notices someone watching him. Well-dressed guy, late 50s, with these sharp eyes that suggest he misses nothing. The man approaches. Marcus Chin? Marcus tenses up. Yes? I'm Robert Huang. I run a small venture fund in Flushing. He gestures at Marcus's notebooks spread across the table. That's quite an analysis you're building there. Just trying to understand the landscape. I know what happened to you. I also know David Park. We went to the same church growing up. I never liked him. Too smooth. Too eager to please. My grandmother used to say, when someone tries too hard to be your friend, check your wallet. Marcus feels something unlock in his chest. The first hint that maybe, just maybe, someone believes him. Why are you telling me this? Because I've been watching you for 2 weeks. You come here every day. You don't complain. You don't make excuses. You just work. Robert pulls out a business card. I have $50,000 I'm willing to invest. It's not much. But if you're planning something, if you see what I think you see in this crisis, I want in. Marcus stares at the card. $50,000. A year ago, he would have laughed at such a small amount. But now it feels like a lifeline. But more than the money, it's the belief. Someone is willing to bet on him again. I'll need to think about it, Marcus says. Take your time, Robert replies. But not too much. Opportunities don't wait forever. That night, Marcus tells Elena about the encounter. They're sitting on that lumpy couch, and he explains what he's seeing in the markets. Everyone's selling. Hedge funds are liquidating. Banks are dumping assets. Good companies, solid, well-run companies, are trading at fractions of their real value because people are terrified. But here's what they're forgetting: economies recover. They always have. And when they do, the people who bought at the bottom, they make fortunes. So what's stopping you? Elena asks. Fear. What if I'm wrong? What if I lose Robert's money? What if I fail again? Firm but loving, this is the speech. Elena turns to face him fully. Marcus, you know what I see every day at the hospital? I see people who are dying. People who would give anything, everything, for another chance. Just one more chance. You have that chance. You're healthy. You're smart. You have knowledge that most people would kill for. And yes, you might fail. But you already know what failure feels like. You're living it right now. The question isn't whether you might fail. It's whether you can live with yourself if you don't try. Marcus feels tears in his eyes again. But different ones this time. Not despair. Gratitude. You remember our wedding? He asked suddenly. Of course. You remember what you said in your vows? You said, I don't need you to be successful. I just need you to be brave. He laughed softly. I thought that was sweet at the time. I didn't realize you were giving me instructions for exactly this moment. Elena smiles. I married a smart man. The next week, Marcus calls Robert Huang. They meet in a dim sum restaurant in Flushing. Marcus lays out his strategy. 12 companies. Solid businesses with good management but battered stock prices. 3 commercial properties in foreclosure that are worth 3 times their distressed sale prices. Talented analysts who've been laid off and are desperate for work. It's contrarian, Marcus explains. Everyone's running away from risk. We're going to run toward it. But carefully. Methodically. With discipline. Robert listens. Asks sharp questions. Finally nods. When do we start? Tomorrow. That night, lying in bed beside Elena as the subway rumbles overhead, Marcus realizes something profound. 6 weeks ago, he lost $1 billion empire. He lost his reputation, his penthouse, his life as he knew it. But he found something more valuable. He discovered who he was when everything else was stripped away. He learned that his worth wasn't in his bank account. It was in his mind. His integrity. And the woman sleeping beside him who never wavered. The old Marcus built an empire on talent and timing. The new Marcus would build something different. Something that couldn't be taken away by betrayal or scandal or frozen assets. He would build on knowledge, relationships, and the kind of resilience that only comes from hitting rock bottom and choosing to climb back up. November 2008 arrives with cold rain and colder headlines. The Dow Jones has plunged below 8,000. Unemployment is spiking. Foreclosure signs dot neighborhoods across America like gravestones. While the world panics, Marcus Chen sits in the Queen's Public Library with his notebooks, and he studies. Every morning, Elena leaves for the hospital at dawn. Marcus walks 3 blocks to the library, claims his usual table near the economics section, and he disappears into research. Balance sheets of distressed companies. Commercial real estate values mapped against historical trends. He studies the 1929 crash, the savings and loan crisis, the dot-com bubble. He's looking for patterns. The fingerprints that every financial crisis leaves behind. You're here early, the librarian says one morning. Mrs. Chen, no relation, though Marcus enjoys the coincidence. She's this tiny woman in her 70s who emigrated from Hong Kong 40 years ago. Trying to understand the world, Marcus replies. She sets down a cup of tea beside his notebooks. My husband lost everything in the '87 crash. Black Monday. He was a stockbroker, very successful, very proud. When the market fell, he fell with it. But he made a mistake. He stayed fallen. He never got back up. He died angry. Blaming everyone else. The government, the system, his partners. Her eyes are sad but clear. I learned something from watching him destroy himself. The market doesn't care about fair. It just is. The people who survive are the ones who accept that and adapt. Those words echo in Marcus's mind as he works. David Park destroyed him unfairly. Criminally even. But fair doesn't matter. What matters is what he does next. Robert Huang's $50,000 sits in a new LLC account, Phoenix Capital. The name was Elena's idea. You're rising from ashes, she'd said simply. Their office? Marcus's laptop at the library? Their operating budget? Almost nothing. But their strategy is crystallizing. Marcus identifies his first target, Precision Tools. Manufacturing company in Ohio. They make specialized components for the auto industry. With Detroit collapsing, their stock dropped from $45 to $3 per share. Everyone assumes they're finished. But Marcus dug deeper. Read their annual reports going back 10 years. Studied their patent portfolio. Analyzed their debt structure. Precision Tools has problems, yes. But they also have $12 million in cash. No debt coming due for 3 years. And contracts with aerospace companies that have nothing to do with cars. The market is throwing out the baby with the bathwater. He calls the CEO directly. The man sounds exhausted. Mr. Walsh, my name is Marcus Chin. I'm interested in investing in Precision Tools. Are you joking? Our stock's in free fall. Investors are running for the exits. I'm not joking. I've studied your company extensively. I think you're undervalued. Who are you with? Phoenix Capital. We're a small fund, but I have cash to deploy and I believe in your fundamentals. Look, Mr. Chin, unless you're bringing millions to the table, I'm not sure how you can help us. I'm not bringing millions. But I'm bringing something potentially more valuable. I'm bringing belief when no one else will. And I'm bringing knowledge of capital markets. If you survive the next 6 months, you'll need someone who understands how to position your story to institutional investors when confidence returns. I can be that person. Walsh is quiet. Then, send me your proposal. I can't promise anything, but I'll read it. Marcus spends the next 3 days crafting a detailed analysis. Precision strengths, their challenges, a pathway forward. He writes it like someone who actually cares about the company's survival, not just quick profits. Walsh calls back on a Friday afternoon. Your analysis is the most thoughtful thing I've read in 6 months. Most people just want to short us or pick our bones. You actually understand our business. Marcus's heart is pounding. So I'm approving a private placement. If you want 15,000 worth of shares at $250, below current market because you're providing strategic value, they're yours. Plus, I'm inviting you to join our advisory board. No compensation, but you'll have insight into our operations. Marcus nearly drops the phone. Yes. Absolutely yes. When he tells Elena that night, she hugs him so hard he loses his breath. You did it, she whispers. You're back in the game. Marcus shakes his head. I'm not back in the old game. This is something different. Walsh didn't invest in me because of my reputation. I don't have one anymore. He invested because I took time to understand his company. To see what others missed. That's the edge now. Deep knowledge. Real relationships. Not just moving money around. Over the next 2 months, Marcus repeats the pattern. He finds a real estate investment trust trading below asset value. He discovers a regional bank that avoided toxic mortgages. And then, he calls Jennifer Torres, his former assistant from Chin Capital. He offers her equity instead of salary. You want me to work for free? She asks. I want you to work for ownership. I have almost no cash, Jennifer. But I have a strategy, and I need someone brilliant with numbers. If this works, you'll make more than any salary I could pay you. If it doesn't, we'll both have learned something valuable. She studies him for a long moment. You really think you can come back from this? I don't know. But I know I'm going to try with everything I have. And I know you're one of the smartest analysts I've ever worked with. The question is, do you want to bet on yourself? Jennifer smiles slowly. When do I start? By December, Phoenix Capital has deployed $42,000 across 6 investments. $8,000 in reserve. They operate from the library, a coffee shop in Astoria, Marcus's tiny apartment. Robert Huang checks in weekly, always asking sharp questions but never micromanaging. He seems to understand that Marcus needs space to rebuild not just a portfolio, but his confidence. One evening, Marcus is walking home when his phone rings. Unknown number. Marcus Chin? My name is Patricia Reeves. I'm a reporter with Bloomberg. I'm working on a story about David Park, and I'd like to speak with you. Marcus's stomach tightens. I don't do interviews. I understand. But you should know, I've been investigating the Chin Capital collapse. And I've found some interesting discrepancies. Documents that don't quite add up. I think you might have been set up, Mr. Chin. Marcus stops walking. Cars rush past on the wet street. Rain drips from awnings. Why are you telling me this? Because I believe in facts. And the facts suggest a different story than what was reported. But I need your cooperation. I need to understand what really happened. Marcus thinks about David Park. Living in Marcus's old world while Marcus scrapes by in Queens. He thinks about revenge. About clearing his name. About vindication. Then he thinks about something Elena said weeks ago. The opposite of love isn't hate. It's indifference. When you stop caring about David, that's when you'll be truly free. Ms. Reeves, I appreciate what you're doing. But right now, I'm focused on building something new, not relitigating the past. If your investigation uncovers the truth, I hope you publish it. But I won't be participating. Are you sure? This could clear your name. My name will clear itself through my actions. That's the only way that matters. He hangs up and continues walking home, feeling lighter than he has in months. Let David have the old empire. Marcus is building something better. January 2009. The financial world is still on fire. The S&P 500 has lost half its value from 2007. Major banks are collapsing. General Motors is begging for bailouts. Every day brings fresh catastrophe. And every day, Marcus Chin sees opportunity that others are too terrified to recognize. It's a freezing Tuesday morning. Marcus is at Jennifer's apartment when he sees the news. Stellar Manufacturing files for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. Their stock, once trading at $28, has crashed to 40 cents. 40 cents. The market has written them off as dead. But Marcus has been tracking Stellar for weeks. He knows something Wall Street doesn't. Their bankruptcy is strategic, not terminal. They're shedding unprofitable divisions, renegotiating union contracts. But their core business, producing parts for medical device companies, is actually growing. Once they emerge from bankruptcy in 6 months, they'll be leaner, stronger. Jennifer, how much cash do we have available? She checks. 12,000. Buy as much Stellar as we can at current prices. Every share. Jennifer looks up sharply. Marcus, this is a bankrupt company. We could lose everything. Marcus looks at her. 3 months ago, he would have hesitated. But losing everything had given him a strange gift. He had nothing left to protect. I'm that confident. Buy it. They buy 28,000 shares at 42 cents. Total investment, $11,760. It leaves Phoenix Capital with $240 in cash reserves. Robert Huang calls that evening. Marcus, please tell me you didn't bet our entire fund on a bankrupt company. I bet our entire fund on a company going through structured bankruptcy with strong fundamentals and a clear path to emergence. There's a difference. Robert is quiet. Then he laughs. You know what? I gave you this money because I believed you see things others don't. If you're wrong, we learned something. If you're right, we just made the trade of the decade. I'm right, Marcus says. And he is. February brings validation. Precision Tools announces they've secured a major aerospace contract. Their stock jumps from $2.50 to $6 in a single day. Phoenix Capital's $15,000 stake? Suddenly worth $36,000. Walsh calls Marcus personally. Your insights on our quarterly presentation were invaluable. The investors actually listened this time. I want to formalize your advisory role, and I'm recommending you to 3 other CEOs who need strategic guidance. This is the moment Marcus understands his new edge. He's not just picking stocks. He's building relationships with management teams that Wall Street abandoned. He's becoming a trusted advisor to companies fighting for survival. And when these companies recover, and they will, he'll be positioned perfectly. One of Walsh's referrals is Catherine Morales. She runs a regional bank called Community First. They avoided subprime mortgages entirely, but depositors are panicking anyway. They meet at a diner in New Jersey. Catherine looks like she hasn't slept in days. Walsh says you actually understand banking fundamentals. Most investors just see the sector and run. Your balance sheet is clean, Marcus says. Loan-to-deposit ratio of 78%. Almost no exposure to commercial real estate. Your loan loss reserves are conservative. You're not in trouble. Your depositors just think you are. Catherine's eyes fill with tears. Thank you? You have no idea how lonely it is to know you're running a sound institution, while everyone treats you like you're Lehman Brothers. I have some idea, Marcus says quietly. I know what it's like when people believe a lie about you and there's nothing you can do except prove them wrong over time. She looks at him closely. You're the Chin Capital guy. I remember the story. I'm the Phoenix Capital guy now. And I'd like to invest in your bank. Not much. I only have about 8,000 available. But I believe in what you're building. Catherine wipes her eyes. Most investors want millions in equity and board seats. You're offering $8,000 in belief. That might be worth more right now. Over the next 2 months, Marcus continues the pattern. Every dollar gets redeployed. More distressed companies. More advisory relationships. More hiring. By March, Phoenix Capital has grown to 5 people working from various apartments across Queens. They have 63,000 under management. By Wall Street standards? Laughable. But they've nearly tripled Robert's initial investment in 5 months. They have relationships with 17 companies. A track record of being right when everyone else was wrong. Then comes the call that changes everything. Marcus Chin? My name is Charles Wellington. I manage the Henderson family office in Connecticut. We oversee approximately $400 million in assets. Marcus nearly drops his phone. $400 million. We've been monitoring your activities. Your investment in Stellar Manufacturing was particularly astute. We're interested in discussing a potential partnership. The Henderson family believes the current crisis represents a generational buying opportunity. But our traditional managers are paralyzed by fear. We need someone with courage and conviction. Someone who sees opportunity where others see catastrophe. Marcus's mind is racing. This is it. The bridge from Queens to real capital. Real scale. Real impact. But then something Elena said echoes. Don't rebuild the old empire. Build something better. They meet the following week. Conference room in Greenwich with a view of Long Island Sound. Wellington is elegant, precise, 60s. We're prepared to offer you $50 million to manage. Plus complete infrastructure, office space, Bloomberg terminals, whatever you need. In exchange, we'd like 60% of the profits and advisory input on major decisions. $50 million. Real vindication. A chance to prove everyone wrong. But he's not the old Marcus anymore. Mr. Wellington, I appreciate the offer. But I have a counter-proposal. Give me $20 million to start. Let me prove the strategy works at scale. Let Phoenix Capital maintain operational independence. You get transparency and monthly updates, but I need freedom to execute. And let's make it a 50-50 profit split. I'm not looking for a boss. I'm looking for a partner who believes in what we're building. Wellington studies him. You're negotiating from a position of weakness. You're operating from apartments in Queens with $63,000. I'm offering you $50 million. I'm not negotiating from weakness. I'm negotiating from clarity. 6 months ago, I would have taken any offer because I was desperate to prove myself. Today, I know what I'm worth. I know what Phoenix Capital can become. And I know that the right partnership, built on mutual respect, is worth infinitely more than the biggest check? Wellington smiles slowly. You've changed, haven't you? The old Marcus Chin was brilliant but hungry for validation. This version is different. This version knows exactly who he is. This version lost everything and discovered what actually matters. Marcus says simply. Wellington extends his hand. $20 million. 50-50 split. Operational independence. Let's build something remarkable. As Marcus rides the subway back to Queens that evening, he thinks about the journey. 6 months ago, he was in that 47th floor office thinking he had the world figured out. Then David destroyed him. Everything gone. But he'd also learned. Grown. Been transformed into someone stronger than the man who'd stood in that corner office. The fall had hurt. God, it had hurt. But the climb back up, that was making him into someone truly unbreakable. April 2009. Phoenix Capital officially launches with Henderson family backing. Marcus moves the operation to a modest office in Lower Manhattan. Not Hudson Tower. Nothing fancy. But clean. Professional. $20 million sits in the account. And Marcus deploys it with the precision of a surgeon and the patience of a gardener. By summer, the investments are maturing beautifully. Stellar Manufacturing emerges from bankruptcy in June. Their stock explodes from 40 cents to $7.50. Phoenix Capital's position? $210,000. From $11,000. Precision Tools hits $15 a share. Community First Bank stabilizes. Catherine Morales sends Marcus a handwritten note. You believed in us when no one else would. That kind of loyalty doesn't get forgotten. The fund is up 340% since inception. But the real transformation isn't in the numbers. It's in how Marcus operates now. The old Marcus chased deals. Competed aggressively. Measured success by extraction. The new Marcus builds relationships. Thinks long-term. Measures success by mutual value creation. One evening, Elena notices. They're cooking dinner together. They'd stayed in Queens despite being able to afford better. You smile more now, she says. Even when you had billions, you didn't smile like this. Because back then, I was building an empire to prove something. To prove my father's sacrifice wasn't wasted. To prove I belong. Now, I'm building something because I actually believe in it. That's the difference. September. Nearly a year after his fall. Marcus receives an email that makes his heart stop. From Patricia Reeves, Bloomberg. Subject, article for your review. Mr. Chin, I wanted you to see this before it publishes tomorrow. Thank you for your integrity, even when it costs you vindication. The attached article is titled, The Chin Capital Fraud That Never Was, How David Park Fabricated Evidence and Destroyed His Business Partner. Marcus reads it 3 times. His hands are shaking. Patricia traced every email. Every document. Found the original versions on David's computer. Proved they'd been altered. She interviewed former employees who witnessed David's jealousy, his resentment. She uncovered everything. David had been skimming money for years. When an internal audit got too close, he decided to destroy Marcus first. Frame him. Make himself look like the hero. The evidence is irrefutable. David Park is finished. Marcus sits with the article for a long time. He thinks about calling everyone. Emailing this to hundreds of people. Watching vindication spread like wildfire. But instead, he closes his laptop. Puts on his jacket. And goes for a walk along the East River. It's one of those perfect September evenings. The sunset painting the sky orange and purple. Joggers passing. Couples holding hands. Marcus thinks about David. The college roommate who helped him study. Who was best man at his wedding. Who sat in his office that terrible morning with lies. And he realizes something that surprises him. He isn't angry anymore. The fall gave him Elena's unwavering loyalty. It taught him the difference between building empires and building value. It introduced him to people like Robert, Catherine, Walsh, Wellington. Relationships forged in crisis that run deeper than any he'd had before. It made him into someone stronger, wiser, more genuinely himself. David tried to destroy him. Instead, he'd accidentally created something better. The article publishes at 6 a.m. By noon, Marcus's phone is exploding. Former investors apologizing. Lawyers offering to sue David. We can get you millions! Journalists requesting interviews. Cable news wanting him on air. The SEC announces they're dropping all investigations into Marcus and opening new ones into David Park. The financial world is ready to embrace Marcus Chen as the wronged hero. But Marcus turns off his phone. Goes to the office where Jennifer and Sarah are tracking the news. "Oh my God, Marcus! Did you see? David's done. You can sue him for everything." "I saw it. This is amazing. You could destroy him. He could go to prison for..." "I'm not suing." The room goes silent. "Marcus, he destroyed your reputation. Stole your company. Put you through hell. You have every legal right to." "I have every legal right. But what would I gain? Money I don't need anymore? Satisfaction from watching him suffer? Or would I waste the next 2 years in depositions and courtrooms, reliving the worst period of my life, letting him occupy space in my head rent-free? He's not getting away with anything. The truth is out. He's facing consequences. But my energy, my time, my focus, my peace of mind, that's too valuable to spend on revenge." He pulls up their portfolio. "We have 17 companies counting on us. We have investors who believed in us. We have something real to build. That's where I'm putting my attention." That afternoon, Marcus does something that surprises even himself. He calls David Park. The phone rings. Once. Twice. 3 times. 4 times. "Marcus." David's voice is hollow. Empty. "I saw the article. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I was jealous. You made everything look easy, the success, the marriage, the respect. I had all the same credentials, worked just as hard, but you always shined brighter. And I resented it. When the money problem started, when I realized I'd made mistakes I couldn't fix, it was easier to destroy you than face my own failures. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." Marcus looks out his office window at the city skyline. A year ago, he would have screamed. Demanded justice. Needed David to hurt. Now, he just feels tired. "David, I'm not calling to yell at you or threaten you. I'm calling to say something you probably don't expect. I forgive you." Complete silence. Then, "What?" "I forgive you. Not because what you did was okay, it wasn't. What you did was criminal. It was cruel. And not because I'm some saint, I'm not. But holding on to anger would poison everything I'm building. And because, weirdly, your betrayal taught me things I needed to learn. How can you possibly? Because I'm happier now than I was in that 47th floor office, David. I have a wife who loves me for who I am, not what I have. I have a team that believes in our mission. I have investors who became friends. I understand the difference between wealth and value. I learned all of that because you took everything away. So yeah, you destroyed me. You took away my money, my reputation, my company, my life as I knew it. And in destroying me, you accidentally helped me become someone better." David is crying now. Sobbing. "I don't deserve forgiveness." "You're right. You probably don't. But forgiveness isn't about what you deserve. It's about what I need to move forward. And I need to stop carrying you around in my heart like a weight. The legal system will do what it does. But between us, as 2 people who used to be friends, I'm letting it go. I hope you find your own path to becoming better, David. I really do." Marcus hangs up. Sits in the quiet of his office. Elena had been right all along. Indifference was freedom. Not hatred. Not revenge. Genuine release. 2 weeks later, Wellington calls. Wants to meet urgently. Marcus drives to Greenwich wondering if the David situation had spooked them. Instead, Wellington greets him with champagne. "Marcus, I've been authorized to make you an offer. We want to increase our investment to $200 million and make Phoenix Capital our primary investment vehicle. We want to bring in other family offices. Within 2 years, you could be managing over $1 billion. Marcus sits down slowly. $1 billion. He'd come full circle. From billion-dollar executive, to broken queens, to billion-dollar manager again. Except this time, everything is different. Before I answer, I need to tell you something. Phoenix Capital isn't just about returns. It's about investing in people and companies the market has written off. It's about building relationships that last. It's about proving that patience and integrity can win. Wellington nods. That's precisely why we want to partner with you. The old Marcus Chin was talented but conventional. This Marcus Chin is playing a different game entirely. One that creates value instead of just extracting it. Then yes, Marcus says. Let's build something that actually matters. That evening, Marcus comes home to find Elena has cooked dinner. The same rice and eggs she'd made in their darkest days. But now served with joy instead of necessity. They eat at their small table in the Queen's apartment they decided to keep. Patricia's article has been nominated for a journalism award, Elena mentions. She emailed to thank you for refusing to participate. She said it forced her to do deeper investigation. Marcus smiles. Everything connects, doesn't it? Even the nose leads somewhere good. Elena sets down her fork. So, billion-dollar manager again. How does it feel? Like wearing a suit that fits properly this time. The first time, I was trying to prove I deserve success. This time, I know success isn't about deserving anything. It's about serving something larger than yourself. They clean dishes together. Talking about everything and nothing. Her patience. His investments. The neighbor's puppy. What to have for dinner tomorrow. Simple moments that Marcus had learned to treasure more than any board meeting. Because he'd learned something profound. He'd lost a fortune, and gained wisdom. He'd been betrayed, and learned forgiveness. He'd hit rock bottom, and discovered that the bottom was actually solid ground to build on. The revenge David had feared? It never came. But Marcus's success, built on the ashes of what David destroyed, was more complete than any revenge could have been. Because Marcus hadn't just rebuilt his empire. He'd rebuilt himself. Into someone who understood that true wealth couldn't be frozen, stolen, or lost in crashes. True wealth was knowledge that lived in your mind. Relationships built on real trust. Resilience forged in fire. And the peace that came from knowing exactly who you were, when everything else was stripped away. Friends, if you're still here with me, thank you. Really. Thank you? Because Marcus's journey teaches us something we all need to understand. Betrayal, while devastating, can also become the crucible that refines your character into something stronger and purer than before. When life strips away everything we thought defined us, the money, the status, the reputation, we discover what truly remains. Our knowledge. Our integrity. Our capacity to love and be loved. Our ability to get back up. And our power to choose grace over bitterness. The most powerful revenge isn't destruction. It's transformation. It's becoming so genuinely content with who you've become that the person who wronged you loses all power over your peace. Real wealth lives in the mind and heart. In relationships built on truth. In the quiet confidence that comes from knowing you can lose everything. And still rise again. And when you choose forgiveness, when you release the anger and bitterness, you're not excusing the wrong. You're refusing to let it define your future. That choice. That freedom. That's worth more than any fortune. If this story touched your heart, hit that like button. It helps this message reach others who might be in their own valley right now. Subscribe so you never miss these stories, real stories about love, resilience, betrayal, forgiveness, and the incredible power of the human spirit. Share this with someone who's going through something hard. Someone who's been betrayed. Someone who's starting over. Someone who needs to hear they can come back from anything. Drop your thoughts in the comments. What lesson hit you hardest? Have you ever experienced a betrayal that led to growth? Have you had to choose between revenge and peace? Your stories matter. Your perspectives create a community where we all learn from each other. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening to Marcus's story, all the way through. Thank you for staying with me through the betrayal, the fall, the struggle, and the comeback. And remember, your greatest comeback might be waiting on the other side of your biggest setback. Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other.